there we go. Cool. All right. Yeah, so basically the theory behind the podcast is it's sort of just aimed at showcasing B Corps from around the world, showing, in all sorts of interesting and wonderful different industry sectors that people may not even know that you can be a B Corp. And really just trying to unpack a little bit about who you are as an individual, who you are as an organization, what you kind of do. But then try to get under the hood a little bit and sort of understand, well, where does purpose sit within your organization? What is the contribution that you're making? And then along those lines, kind of like, well, when and why did B Corp pop up on the radar as an option? And then really like, what was the journey to B Corp like? Were there any unexpected things that happened? Were there, good things or bad things that you discovered about the company on the journey? And really it's a pretty relaxed conversation where I tend to just we'll just keep the conversation flowing. I'll just kind of ask a question. We'll have a bit of a conversation around that topic. If you say something and I'm like, oh wow, I had no idea that was a thing, we might go and explore a little topic and then I'll kind of bring it back on track. And then when it comes to kind of editing and releasing the podcast, I don't tend to edit anything out. We just kind of keep the conversation as a flowing conversation. I know some podcasts, it's kind of like question, and then sometimes they re-edit, but we don't do that. We're just going to go and have a conversation and away we go. So yeah. Any questions from you?
None. I mean, I had listened in a couple of your previous podcasts, so I kind of understood the flow, and I really like that free. I mean, I think you really have a talent at how you just keep that flowing. I was like, wow, it's really.
Thank you.
I could tell that the others were really comfortable, so I was like, okay, in that case, that's why I also didn't really prepare that much. I mean, of course,
we don't need.
Because I mean, I know what I do. I know what we do at EMAPTA, and
Exactly.
so I feel like I'm just gonna talk to you about it, and then we will see how it goes.
Nice. And just so I get your name pronounced correctly, Inge.
It's Inge, Zvik.
Yep. Zvik, cool. And EMAPTA? Sorry,
no, EMAPTA.
EMAPTA.
Yeah.
Cool. So in a minute, what I'll do is I'll just put myself on the big screen and I'll just do a quick hello, welcome to the latest episode. And then I'll say, hey, and with me today, I have Inge Zvik from EMAPTA. And I'll just say, hey, Inge, hey, how's it going? We might just do a little bit of an introduction. Are you Italian by birth?
Yes and no, as in the sense I am Italian by nationality and by birth, but I come from the German-speaking part of Italy, hence my accent, my name and all. So I'm from Tyrol. But nice. Yes, that's where I was born and grew up, and that's where I live now again after having lived abroad for many years. So
cool.
There.
So I quite often do an introduction in a couple of different languages, and I might say, hey, Inge, how would we say hello where you're from? And so we can make it international and global. Cool. All right. I will sort of hide you for a second, but you will still be there. And I'll just give it a couple of seconds to clear space and then I'll get into it. Hey, kia ora, shemai, g'day. Welcome to the latest episode of the Be Better podcast, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. And increasingly, we are getting people tuning in from all around the world. So that is quite exciting. Any major updates from Grow Good Towers? Not really. It's at the time of recording, we're right in the thick of the announcement of the new B Corp standards. And if you are listening to this as someone who is B Corp curious, it might not mean that much to you. If you are an existing B Corp, you will probably be going through the same kind of possible existential sweats that most other B Corps of the world are as they try to unpack what this new standard looks like. So anyway, if you are listening in and you want some more information on the standards, drop me a note and we can help you do that. Anyway, let's get into what we're here for, which is this latest episode of the Be Better podcast. And with me today, all the way from Italia, we have got Inge Zvik from EMAPTA. It's buongiorno, I guess.
Buongiorno, yes.
There
it's morning for me, afternoon for you, so good afternoon. Buongiorno.
Who knows? And so yes, you're dialing in all the way from the Tyrol in Italy, which is very cool. But you were just saying before we kicked off, so you're Italian, but obviously for people maybe not fully aware of that part of the world, bordering on Switzerland,
and Austria.
You've there's this like confusing part of the world where you are Italian but you speak German and you have a German name.
That's perfectly summarized. I usually go through a longer explanation of how it comes that I don't sound like a this, and yet I'm still Italian. So yeah, that's it.
Nice. You're like, I'll give a shout. I've got a friend of mine, Dietmar, who I go skiing with, and he is half German, half Tongan. And so it's kind of like that's like a really curious mix. So I always say he's ruthlessly laid back because he has the best of both of the
He's laid back
genetic.
in the best and most organized way, I
Exactly,
assume.
exactly. Yeah, I will be laid back between 10 and 12, and then I will not be laid back. Yeah,
Love
cultural
that.
stereotypes. We're straight into it. There we go. So yes, so for people who don't know who you are and what you do, yeah, just give us a bit of a rundown as to who you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, so you already had my background where I'm from. So yeah, I'm from Tirol, but I have been living globally for the last 20 years. I'm a global executive. I was for the longest time based in the Philippines for the last 7 years. Before that, in China, Hong Kong, Dubai, and different countries across Europe. I work for an outsourcing company now. That's what the Philippines brought to me, and that's called EMAPTA. And we are, yeah, global outsourcing company. And this is a new industry for me since now 7 years ago, and it's been an exciting ride. And as part of that ride, I was just laughing as how you said how we're all having existential sweats right now with the new B Corp standards. Yeah, that's me. I'm the ESG lead at EMAPTA as well, next to my other roles, and that's exactly what I'm feeling right now. And I'm so happy to that you how you how you
Yeah,
put it together.
yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
yeah, I'm supposed to be like a B Corp domain expert, but it's like, yeah, here's a 1,000-page document on the new standards. Yeah, get going. It's like, cool. Yeah, we'll start and
yeah,
think about it.
but I mean, I suppose it's with any change, right? Change is scary. Change, when you first encounter it, you're like, oh no, why do we need this? And no, it was also good the way it was. But I'm sure I
100%.
trust B Corp that there is good reasons for this. I mean, for us, EMAPTA, we're a newly B Corp certified company, so we were like, we just got in. Why are you
Yeah,
changing
and now you're
things
changing it.
now?
Yes.
But on the other
What did you
hand,
do?
because of that, we have the 3-year certification window, right? A recertification window. So we're like, maybe it's okay, and in 3 years
Yeah.
from now, it'll be fine. So that's kind of where we are. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, lucky you. There's I've got a bunch of, well, for myself, I'm just going through, it's my third recertification, so I will hopefully, fingers crossed, be a 4 times B Corp. I'm so glad I'm sneaking in on the current one, because just like you, I will have 3 years to get my head around the new ones, because otherwise I'd be like, I'm my own business in New Zealand, or I guess in the UK as well, because I'm originally from the UK. They call it like the builder's house on the street. Like, normally the builder's house is the worst
Mhm.
looking house because they're so busy building everyone else's house. And that's quite often what my own B Corp certificate looks like, is I'm so busy helping other people that I don't really have that much time to work on my own one. So I'm actually really glad I got 3 years. But yeah, I've got a bunch of people I've been helping the last few years in New Zealand and around the world. And there's a whole bunch of them that are coming up for research right now. And it's almost like the sword of Damocles. It's like, will we be able to sneak in under the current ones and get the research done, or are we going to
And you
be,
can't
yeah,
do
on
it
the new
earlier,
ones?
right? You can't see, oh, we're ready. We could get it now.
There's
So
there's, there's like a yeah, there's like a real definitive line in the sand which is there now, and it's like, yeah, for some. So I had to have a conversation with one client. Yes, I was like, hey, really, because a few of them have been working sort of behind, have actually been quite diligent, have been working on the, on trying to get some more points on the current system, and I've had to be the bearer of bad news and say, yeah, I'd forget about that right now if I was you, because you're going to be on the whole new system, and let's just wait and see what is going to transfer across. So if you're new to B Corp, you'll be listening to me and Inge going, I have no idea what these two are on about. But if you are a B Corp, this will all be yeah, this will be front of mind for most of you.
I feel like it's the AI of the B Corp world. Like, let's say 1.5 years ago, when every conversation was about AI, and everybody was like
Mm,
panicked about, should I already be doing this? And is this like, it's the top of mind for everything? And I feel like for B
yeah,
Corps, this is what us right
it's
now
just,
with the new standards. It's like,
100%, 100%. Yeah. So outsourcing of talent and so on and so forth. So I mean, it sounds fairly simple in my mind. It's like, I have some work that needs to be done. Can you find some people who maybe live overseas who could do that work for me? Is that's essentially what EMAPTA is doing?
Yes, that is essentially it, plus plus, as in it doesn't
Yeah.
stop there. But in concept, yes, that's what it is. I mean, um, I'll just go a step back and kind of explain. Like our founder and owner, he's from Adelaide, an Aussie, and he had that thought about what is it now? It's 16 years ago. It was like, okay,
Mm,
he was a serial entrepreneur in Australia. I was looking for some work for that he needed to be done, and found that candidates in the Philippines have really outstanding capabilities. So he did some work there. And then he was a little frustrated with the traditional outsourcing company where it's not about the people who do the work. It's
mm,
just get this work done and get it back to me at the end of the month. And then here's what you pay
yeah.
for it. And sometimes that transactional type of work focused outsourcing is what's required for businesses. But especially when you're a small or medium enterprise and serial entrepreneur, you know how it is, Tim. It sounds like you're also in it with this, with you and your the companies that you advise on. Like, you got to be agile, you got to be flexible, you got
Mm,
to, I don't know, try out something today and change your mind tomorrow. And so it was all for Tim, it was all about getting in people. And so he eventually was just said, like, "Oh, I'm just going to do this myself," because he was convinced that there is great talent in the Philippines. But it was very important for him to pay people fair, good wages for the work that they do, compensate them appropriately, take good care of them so that they feel proud and happy about the work that they do. And that includes, following all the local labor laws and paying all the benefits and just
yeah.
being a good employer, even when you're overseas, taking good care of them. And then, yes, so that's essentially what he did. He built the business, and what we do is absolutely employ people on behalf of our clients. But the plus plus that I mentioned earlier is all about making sure that the team members are properly employed, following local labor laws, are set up in really good office spaces so that they have a good work environment. Can also work from home now since the pandemic, but IT hardware is done. I mean, again, not just for B Corps, any business in the world, data security, data privacy, for the Europeans, GDPR compliance, it's part of what
Mm,
we have to worry about as a business owner, right? And so all of that is, we take care of that for our clients in with our team members. But the day-to-day work, the client can just focus on having a great team member to join their business and work with them, not physically, because our team members are working in the Philippines or Colombia or North Macedonia, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Vietnam. We've grown to other countries, but now, just as you and I are speaking now virtually, and we actually,
yeah.
most of our clients, especially the ones in New Zealand and Australia, they often fly over to see our team members or vice versa. So it's not as disconnected as it might seem.
Yeah. Nice. And so, yeah, it's good that obviously there was that sort of sense of purpose and contribution rather than, because I guess the obvious challenge that people might have for outsourcing is, well, it's a capitalist kind of play. You're just trying to make, help people make more money, and therefore you're going to pay people. It's like, I guess that is the
It's the ethical dilemma
ingen
that people think they have in
yeah.
this regard. Yes.
Yeah, and undoubtedly there have been some people over the years, I would imagine, that have found, people and paid them really, really badly, and so yeah, it is a bit of a moral conundrum. It's like, well, I'm paying a cheaper hourly rate maybe for someone in a country overseas, but typically from all the people I know, and I'd say it's fairly common, people outsourcing overseas these days in a global, like I say, global connected world. Most of the most people are paying them way above what would be a minimum wage, and I guess from a B Corp perspective, before we get too far into the whole B Corp process, it's like one of the questions in the current assessment is, do you pay your staff a living wage? And sometimes it's really hard to get living wage data in places like the Philippines, or
Mm.
in some countries where there is no state recognized living wage. So yeah, just maybe talk through. You sort of touched on it briefly, but yeah, is that a consideration that people have, or is it a criticism that you get still, or do you feel like you've got it covered enough with what you're actually doing?
I mean, we've got it covered, but it is definitely a question that sometimes we still encounter from prospective clients. Much less so than I would say 6 years ago when I started with EMAPTA. At that time, we still had to do a
Mm,
lot of education about even where the Philippines is on the scale. How is it there? Do people have internet? How is the infrastructure?
mm,
All of that is basically now no longer a question. People are now very much used to it. But that ethical question on is this okay, like for me as a business in the UK or in New Zealand to pay somebody less, but they're sitting in the Philippines. I always and It helps for me when I speak to clients. It helps that I've lived there, that I firsthand, and I can really say, look,
mm,
you're paying these through us. You're paying these team members a very good wage. So we pay market rates for the respective level of experience of the team member, but we're paying very good rates. So we're paying more than what local companies would pay. And with these rates, they're fairly compensated for their experience, because most of the candidates and team members that work with us have bachelor's or even master's degrees. These are highly educated people that
mm,
have great career prospects or are looking for better ones, and that's what we're providing. But we also have to understand that because the cost of living is much lower in the Philippines, or again, Sri Lanka, Colombia, wherever we are, compared to New Zealand and the UK, that's the automatic cost saving for the business. And working with a provider like us, like, we make sure that you can have the peace of mind, or that it's not just that you're paying them well, but they're also taken care of. They're getting all the benefits. We provide private health care. We provide the holidays, and yeah, engagement activities. So they are really taken care of, just like you would take care of your team members in New Zealand or
mm.
anywhere else. And very often when our clients visit us in the offices in Manila, they're like, wow, this office is nicer than mine in London. And we're like, yeah, because we have to, and not just but this is not to show off. It's about attracting the best talent. We have to make sure we put our best foot forward to attract great candidates for our clients.
Mm,
And when you say about B Corp, and obviously the fact that we are a B Corp should also show that this is a legitimate business, and that we do right. But when we had to
yeah.
do the assessment, and to prove, are we paying a living wage, there is, in fact, of course, there is data available on the living wage in the Philippines, and we pay way beyond that, because
Mm,
unfortunately poverty rates are still quite high in the Philippines, and so
yeah.
the average rate is very, very low, but we pay a much higher median range salary to the candidates.
Mm,
So that was one of those steps where we're like, oh yeah, that's take that, because we've got that
yeah.
covered.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting because, on one hand, when you look at the current B Corp assessment, there's a lot of questions on building local community. Are you hiring locally? So, for me as a small business, or for small business owners, it's like, yeah, do you hire locally? Are your owners local to where the majority of your team are based? So you kind of get points awarded there. But equally, that there's an argument that helping break down inequality, creating good job opportunities in areas around the world where maybe those opportunities haven't historically existed, and you are paying significantly more, and investing in people's well-being and health insurance, and upskilling them. It's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, because I have an assistant, but they're based here in Christchurch, and that's a decision that I did make. For me, there was just having I like having someone local that I can sit down with over a cup of tea and just go, right, can we just map this out, and da 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 da. So that's just my personal preference. But yeah, I do see the argument for, yeah, how I mean, in many ways, by what you do, you are hopefully reducing that inequality in the countries that you're working in. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I suppose that we definitely are, because I really see, and again, I've seen this myself in the Philippines. We and the industry, the outsourcing industry, which is one of the biggest contributors to the GDP
Mm,
in most of the developing countries, but definitely in the Philippines. This industry really helps to build the middle class. So because it starts with educated team members who now have more career opportunities with global businesses, and so they're earning opportunities communities really increase, and so we're really building a stronger middle class. And because of the community spirit and the strong sense of family in the Philippines, that means that through that we are really affecting those families where previously
Mm,
only one team member per family for the lower income families was able to go to college, get a bachelor's degree, and so on.
mm,
Through this type of work, we're now getting more people into that category who are now able to skill up to a different level of careers. And um, I always say, I say this when I greet our new hires every Monday, and I say, like really what we're doing is we're creating jobs for people. It sounds very cheesy, but it's really what we do. And on the other hand, when I speak to the clients, we're not very often we're not taking jobs from, let's say, New Zealand or the UK,
mm,
because with the businesses that I speak with, they need to decide. With it, sometimes it's a funding issue that they don't have the funds to be able to add more roles to their business, but very often it's also a resourcing issue. I mean, the shortage, I know it's a huge pain point for sure here in Europe. I assume it's the same with you in New Zealand. Many businesses simply cannot find the talent that they need for their business, because
mm,
there's also a war on talent in the Western countries. And
mm.
so when clients speak with us, they're like, I really need this business analyst, but I've been advertising for 6 months. I can't find anyone. And we're like, okay, well, we
Yeah.
can. And
We've got
so,
we've got 10 people.
right. And so by getting somebody offshore who happens to come at a lower cost, what we see our businesses do, they reinvest those savings into the local teams. So it's not like they're letting the local teams go, and
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah.
it's in fact they want to stay in their communities. They're very active. In fact, some of our business partners, our clients, are also B Corps. So they also want to make an impact in their community. But when you do that, you still have to look at the bottom line. You still have to make sure
Yeah,
where the
totally.
funding comes from. And so just as you would look and shortlist through your suppliers in where do I buy my resources and products for my services, this is the same thing. You say, which roles do I need to successfully run my business? Where can I find them? Where can I find the best talent? And if you can get talent elsewhere for a lower cost and can reinvest that into the growth of your business, for me, that's just a business strategy.
Yeah. And or into doing more good. It could free
Hmm.
up money that you didn't have before. That means you can now make a charitable contribution, or you can implement the new impact strategy, or whatever it
and,
is.
and
So yeah.
businesses do. I mean, I was just in the UK 3 weeks ago, where I met with some of our clients, and this is what they've shared. They've shown me how they have invested extra funds into making sure that the local team in the UK is also happy and engaged. Also, by taking some of the ideas from what they see we're doing for our teams in the Philippines, we have engagement activities, we have CSR outreach as well. And it's not like they didn't have that before, but they're like, oh wow, we could do this approach, or we could do that, and
Mm,
they're really investing it to do good in their respective community.
nice. That's super cool. I mean, yeah, you sort of mentioned already that you've have humanized this connection, because I think there's a real risk, like with anything in the world of purpose and impact. The more disconnected you are from the thing, the less um well connection you have for it. And particularly when at a human level, it can be completely humanized, and it can come down to just productivity hours, billable hours, and all the rest of it. Do you think is it mainly kind of client selection that means you have this good connection between your team and your clients, or have you got any specific things that you do to create that sort of human connection between client and team members?
Yes, so it definitely comes down to the type of businesses that we work with and the type of businesses that select us. But then it is really EMAPTA who needs to we need to put our best foot forward and show to the
Mm,
client, this is how we take care of our people, and this is how we recommend you to integrate the team member into your business. So um, our model of outsourcing, we call it dedicated staffing, is really one where these team members, we just said, this is not a number, not just someone, it's a human being, it's a person. Let's call them Mary. Let's say Mary is going to be your new whatever role you're looking for, business analyst or graphic designer or video editor or whatever it is.
Mm.
And this is not about just, oh, here, do my graphics. It's like, okay, Mary is going to become part of your team. And so firstly, the client is involved in the selection of the candidates. We will do the recruitment, pre-selection, pre-screening, so we'll do all the heavy lifting there, but it's the client who gets to interview and make the selection. Because again, I don't know your business, Tim. I don't know
Yep.
what's important to you. And even if you tell me, I am not in your business. It's you who needs to have even that gut feel of, oh, this person feels like they'll be a good fit
Yep.
for me and my team. So that's what the client does. And then once they've selected the candidates, we will, we really handhold both the client and the candidate to that start date where we will make sure that we have the right system set up. We give them tips and on best practices on how to integrate Mary into your team, and how to set her up for success with the right KPIs, with the right um, trainings and so on both sides. So the team member is well prepped so that they know how they can contribute, and the client knows, oh, okay, so I have this team member offshore, but especially if it's the first time for the client to hire
Mm.
offshore, it's kind of going through some of those worries and those concerns. How am I going to do this? What happens if they need to take a day off? How do I
Mm.
what if it's their birthday? How can I send them some flowers? We will handhold and work with them through our support, because
Nice.
it's just about bringing those people together, and with that, we achieve our purpose.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting. I've done over the years. I did 2 contracts with as part of remote teams. One where literally none of us met in person, and we worked on this job for maybe 6 months, and we were such a tight knit team because we got to know each other and we spent that time. Um, and the second one was a mix of a sort of remote and office space. I was remote, but I would go to the office every now and then and meet. But again, the two things that really did set it apart, they were both very purpose driven, had a very clear like this is what we're trying to achieve. So I think it attracted like the right people. But I think people in this in this kind of like, well, do we work, let people work remotely, or do we need to have to be in an office to build a team? I think you can really successfully build team remotely, and I think people just maybe don't understand how to do it. One of the things we did, it's called the check-in protocol, and so basically every time we had a team meeting, everyone would take it in turns to say, "I'm mad, sad, or glad," and then they'd sort of basically describe like how they're feeling, what's going on in their life. And then once they'd had a time to sort of express how they were feeling, they would just finish off by saying, "Cool, I'm in," and that just meant right, I'm in and I'm present and I'm kind of like ready to proceed. And as you start doing that as a team, like over a few weeks and months, people start becoming more vulnerable. And instead of just saying, "Oh, I've got a few things going on in my life right now," they go, "Actually, things are really tough at home. There's something happening in the family." They'd like you just open up more and more and more, and you'd have that real sense of connection and empathy, which you'd I've struggled to have, or I've not seen happen in physical office locations where people stay guarded. So it's really interesting that you can create that dynamic. So yeah, good on you for facilitating that and making that happen. Because I guess that's going to be a big part to your success. Is obviously you want team members to bond and go well. Otherwise, it's
Yeah, exactly right. And you have to you have to really work on creating that connection. Because if you're physically in an office, you can walk up to somebody at the water cooler, have a chat. You can see if they're sad, if they're upset.
yeah,
That free flowing conversation will happen automatically, mostly. But if somebody's remote and they're engaging just the way you and I are now, it's usually much more like, okay, here's what we're here to speak about. Let's do that, and then goodbye. And
yep,
I also, this is part of what I'm very passionate about, since I'm a foreigner in the Philippines, and so this cross cultural management and the cross cultural communication is a passion of mine, and it's something that
nice,
I always advise the client on. I'm like, look, I usually, especially if it's their first time hiring offshore, I usually give this as a tip as well prior to the interviews. I say, look, in Asia, it's there. context around the work is very, very important. They're very much community focused. They also like to take decisions in groups, and so you have to really make a focus of getting to know the person and their environment before they feel comfortable to warm up and just open themselves on. Of course, everybody can just come to work and do their work, but then you'll only get this far. You'll not know their reasoning and you won't know their understanding. And because there's a cultural difference, you can't expect that it's the same as, you know, when you from your same community.
Yep.
I always take myself as an extreme example. I'm a European. I'm very direct. You ask me a question, I give you an answer. There you go, bam. It's like that's how it is.
I don't believe you with your German heritage being direct.
Right?
What?
Exactly. But imagine then the opposite, or the other end of the spectrum is that in Asia, where it's a very hierarchical society, and especially in the workplace, it's not common that let's say a rank and file team member would just offer their opinion in a meeting where the boss is present, because that would be alienating the team leads, the managers, the hierarchy. It's not that they can't, that they don't have it. They're smart, they're driven, they have the opinions, but it's not the way it's done. So in order to empower them to speak up, but also to understand where and when they would raise an opinion, where they wouldn't, you have to invest a little bit in getting to know them as a person, understand who they are, make them feel safe, and really invest in making sure that they know they're here, they're seen as a human being, as a person, and then they will open up more. And even in interviews, I always say, you know, again, a European, you ask them, hey, why are you fit for this role? What do you bring to the table? And we'll just shoot and we'll just go at it. Versus in Asia in general, our candidates are more reserved. They will not right away, right out of the gates, boast with their most amazing achievements. Not that they don't have them. It's just it's more about, I'm answering your question, I'm offering. It's more reserved. And so you have to kind of be a little bit aware of those differences. And I don't see these as cultural problems or anything. I just think it's something to be aware of, and it's something
100%.
to be aware of even with your local team. But because again, everybody's different. But when you work remotely, as you said in your example there, I thought I liked the way you said it, that the daily stand-ups, we also recommend that, having daily stand-ups with the team, and just have a very regular process on how everybody updates them on their work, because then it's easier when everybody shares what they're working, then our team members will too.
Nice. Yeah, I think there's a couple of layers there, because obviously there's the cultural side of things, but even just down to like within your own culture, possibly, you know, different personality types. I do a little bit of well, when I help companies maybe explore mission, vision, and values type work, there's a tool that I use called the emotional culture deck, which is a really useful way to help people understand how they want to think and feel, which then you could basically use it to help people unpack values. But kind of beneath that, and I guess more linked to maybe the purpose side of things, is that self-awareness and really understanding who you are and how you operate. And I remember doing a session with a company years ago now, and we touched upon sort of personality types as part of this sort of purpose work. And one of the managers was, I use kind of like a modified disc profile, and I like colors because I'm of a certain personality type. And he would be what I describe as a red personality type. So leader, driven, all about results. I don't care how you do it, just get it done. Don't come and bother me. And basically all of his team were what I would call blue, as in they were kind of like primary school teacher, nurse, caring, empathy, kind of exactly what you just said, like all about community, all about other people. And he was getting really frustrated because his team weren't performing, and and I was like, dude, it's because you're going at them like a bull in a china shop. That you need to take them on a journey. You need to explain to them, be empathetic, and and he sort of didn't really get it. But then I checked in with him about a month after the session we did. And he's like, knowing that has fundamentally changed how my team operates, because I now understand them and they understand me, and we've come to a consensus. Like they know that if I just say go get it done, they know that I'm not being mean to them. That's just me. And it's like, even just at that fundamental level of personality types, it always amazes me how I come from a sales background, and so every time you're in a new job, you get put through a different personality profile system. So I'm very clear on who I am and how I operate, but it never ceases to amaze me how few people outside of a sales role typically have done any kind of personality profiling, and they don't even know how they want to interact, let alone understanding other people. So yeah, it's so cool that you're sort of helping people. I think there's many layers to how you're helping people, clearly.
Yeah, and it's that those. It's funny as you say those personality types, because we, as I mentioned earlier in the interview process for our clients, we do the pre-selection, pre-screening, and the client gets to interview. And many of our clients, especially those in the enterprise clients, businesses, they have their own tests as well that we will administer.
Yep.
You know, for developers, we'll do skill testing, or for accountants, we'll do Excel or zero testing. But these personality tests are increasingly common for our clients, and very often they have their own and they would like to know, so this new team member, where do they fit in
Yep.
on the spectrum, or on, you know, whichever one you have it,
Yep.
like the red and the blue. And we love that, because it really shows that they're already thinking about how this person is going to be. They don't only think about who's going to do these 3 tasks that I now want to outsource. They think about how am I going to work with that person, and how will this person contribute to my team. Sometimes when I find we do have clients who say, oh, but then could we also do a personality testing? And I say, okay, great, which one do you want to use? We have some, but you know, which one? And they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know. And then they want to use it as another, almost as another hurdle to help them make the
Mm,
decision. You know, like they're already not sure about if they should be working with someone offshore, and they think
mm,
that the results of this test could tell them yes or no. And I say, well, then you have to first define what you're looking for. Like, what is it? Is a person who is very introverted and very quiet not good? Then, but then
mm.
what would define good, right? So the
Yep.
purpose also in the employee selection is really important. And sometimes we really have to guide our clients there and be like, okay, we can administer any test that you want. That's not the problem. But what are you going to do with the results? And if somebody scores 60 out of 100, what does that mean to you? Is that
Mm,
and what within that score drives your decision to work with this person or not work with this person? And that's kind of where we come in. And I think that's also important, because when you're hiring directly onshore and you say you can sit down with them for a coffee, a lot of that is probably gut feel and just driven on the
yep.
moment. But when you don't see them in person, you have to put metrics in place, and that's where we come in and help out.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you've got a very robust process in place for all of that. So yeah, um, we mentioned AI a bit earlier on, but
Mm.
how do you see that impacting? I mean, because for many companies, and although I don't know, sort of the more conversations I have, I mean, partly I look at my own job and go, well, it's probably not going to be long before there's an AI bot that can come and help you, you know, work out how to do B Corp better than I can help someone. So I kind of look at that, and then I kind of go, oh, you know, maybe do I try and help people more think about, you know, purpose coaching? Is that like a thing I should be doing more of? Because that's, and then you go, well, hang on a minute, no, there's actually some fairly good prompts you can put into Chat GPT right now and get some life coaching sorted. Yeah, but then equally, some people was talking to a guy yesterday, and he was like, "No, I think, you know, people are overestimating the threat of AI. People still want that human connection." Blah blah blah. Where do you kind of sit? Where, because obviously, I mean, theoretically, your industry is ripe for disruption, or for you to disrupt yourselves and kind of go, "Hey, look, it's been great employing all these people in the Philippines and wherever, and, you know, raising their standard of living and paying them really well, but actually, we can just get a bot to do that now." Um, yeah, how does that all come to play in your thinking at the minute?
Yeah, I think I alluded to that earlier, how that was the buzz of I mean, global industries all over the world, maybe a year ago, year and a half ago. And certainly at the beginning, there was a sense of fear of, oh, is AI going to disrupt the outsourcing industry? And are we all going to be out of jobs? And I mean, we've always felt, even at the beginning, we've always felt very positive, because we know that still people like to work with people, people like to buy from people, and
Mm,
technology is there to enable. And this is definitely, and the AI is accelerating this. There are certain functions, areas, and even roles that certainly have absolutely changed already with AI and are going to change more. But we have seen a lot of other requirements emerge from that, like um, any business that needs to and wants to integrate into AI into their business, it always sounds, the idea sounds so straightforward, right? Let's just get a new system, let's AI do all of that, and then we'll just get that done. But in reality, the implementation of systems is usually, depending on the scope of the project and the business, obviously it can be 6 month to 3 year process. We've seen a huge increase in roles like business analysts, business implementation, product engineers, product support roles, to work in the integration of AI into their respective businesses. And in most of the businesses that we work with, AI replaces part of the role, and it integrates with other pieces of the puzzle and the respective service or product. But there are always other areas that will continue to be done by people. And that's where, whether the people are onshore or whether they're offshore, that's another conversation, and that's already, every business solves that for themselves. But we already see that the demand is still there. In fact, we have actually had an uptick in demand, especially for those migration type of work, which people think, oh, I'll just need them for 3 months, but it's usually stays much longer, because again, those migrations are complex. And then the second part is also the evolution of those roles. It's the reskilling of team members into the different roles. Like, we increasingly have demands for LLM input roles. So they need people who have that to help it transcribe the knowledge into AI. Now that is time bound. Once it's in the AI, it's in there, but then that information will still need to be integrated into the business. So we've seen an increase in demand for certain roles. We have seen a change of functions and an evolution of how humans are being used to work with the technology in the businesses. And we've certainly seen also that not every business worldwide is already there. Like, it'll still be an evolution, even to have AI integrated into all businesses, and that'll still be a few more years to come. And in the meantime, in the developing countries, universities are really skilling up people as well on a technological side. And then the human interaction, as you mentioned, it's what people are looking for, they're yearning for, and that aspect of the business will remain. In what form, shape, or form, we don't know yet today, right? Like, we will all look back at it 10 years and we'll be like, wow, this is what we were worried about then. We didn't even know that this and this was going to happen. But we've certainly seen a lot of agility from our team members and the candidate pool. And we've seen a lot of receptiveness from clients to still work with great team members.
Yeah, you kind of almost wonder whether the flex is almost going to be like, well, sure, yeah, you've got an AI, but I've actually still got a human. Like, you almost wonder whether that would be a differentiator. It's like, because for me, like, there's nothing worse. You turn up to a corporate office and there's a bloody iPad welcoming you. It's like, it's so dehumanizing, demoralizing. It's sterile. It's, although having said that, there are sometimes you walk into an office and you're greeted by a human and you do wonder why they are a secretary or a front office person, because clearly they haven't, maybe they've had a bad day. But in my sales career, it was always like, trying to gain favor with the secretary or the gatekeeper or the office manager. That was part of the game, and having that human interaction and getting to know people and building a relationship. There's it's interesting. Whether that will be the flex is, no, I still have a human person doing this. But then it's scary. I was listening to something the other day. There's now, I think it was in the medical world, they did a study and they were like, okay, well, here's some medical information that's been reviewed by a doctor. This one's been reviewed by a doctor and AI, and this one has been reviewed just by AI. And I think the ones where it was reviewed by AI and doctor was actually the worst outcome. The one by AI alone was better than just the doctor. So and their theory was like the human ego, particularly in the medical world. And I can say that because I used to sell to orthopedic and neurosurgeons. So I know, apologies if you're married to a surgeon or if you've got close friends who are surgeons. But it was basically the ego was getting in the way, and they thought that they were smarter than the AI. So they were saying, no, the AI must be wrong because I know everything because I'm a trained specialist. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's always an interesting world, but this one I've kind of really gone down a bit of an AI rabbit hole this last couple of weeks, trying to understand it a bit more and get my head around it. And yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
as
Yeah, in
as
10
have
years,
I.
we'll,
I
we'll look
mean,
back.
exactly. And I mean, for me, I was in that rabbit hole, yeah, a few months ago, or maybe more than a year ago, and it was really like, oh, where is this gonna go? And but then I kind of stopped going, because I was like, well, let's just see how it plays out. And in the meantime,
Yeah.
what I can see is, for me, my pulse. The pulse that I always see is speaking to global businesses. Since I'm based in Europe, I
Mm,
usually speak with our UK and European-based businesses, but also lots of our American ones. And and what I can see is that AI is definitely on the rise. It's coming, but also the expectations are sometimes very unrealistic. Like, you wouldn't believe how many times I hear a clients like, "Oh yeah, I have, like their organizational structure is really not organized, let's say, and
mm,
they expect, oh, I can just get AI in and to do this." And I'm like, yeah, but to bring AI to do this, to get everything, organized in an organization, you need to still have structure. AI doesn't just do it themselves. There
yeah.
is, and it's that method of garbage in, garbage out. So the information that's given into the AI or into the system to train it needs to be really good and needs to be thought through in order for it to actually be used by the people. And
Yeah.
a sense that I don't know, that I get is that AI and the solutions that we will have in the businesses will continue to be quite faulty because of how it has been trained. It has been trained by people who might not have had the full knowledge. And so it won't work
Mm,
for this and that department because their thoughts weren't considered. So I think you'll always need people to still alongside the technology, simply because of the way we had trained those models. There are certain functions, of course, that are very process driven, do A, B, C, D, and then it's done. But within global businesses, within departments, within different technologies, when you need to bring them all together, there are so many complexities that it's not that an AI can't solve them, for sure, but the way to get there still requires humans. And then once it's there, humans
mm,
still are sometimes also a little bit lazy to use the AI. If it doesn't immediately give them the
yeah.
right answer, they don't want to use
Yeah.
20 prompts to get to the right answer. They'd rather ask somebody. And that's where I
Yeah.
feel we might be headed. And I don't know. But having said that, we ourselves are also, we have a team internally in our technology development team that has developed an AI chatbot for our own systems. So we're not like anti-AI. In fact, we're embracing it. We help our customers integrate the AI because we know it's where the future is, and it's still
Mm,
going to be about creating efficiencies. And that's where, we come to the table with our solutions there and say, okay, great, let's see, where can we create those efficiencies with AI? Where do you need people, and what kind of people do you need at what level to function in 5 years from now?
mm. Yeah. No, I think I'm agree on that. Yeah, it's yeah, a massive period of transition coming up. Um, that is for sure. Um, so getting onto the B Corp trail. So you guys certified, I think it was November last year. So
Hmm.
pretty, like I say, fairly new. Referencing back to our research conversation at the beginning. So yeah, when and how did B Corp pop up on the radar? Was that something that the team had locked in from early days, or yeah, how did you come across it?
I mean, B Corp had been on the wish list of our CEO since 2019. And in fact, 2019, October, November, we first started looking into what it takes to become a B Corp. And we attempted to fill the first initial impact assessment. Right. So that's where we get. And then, as you gather data from all the different departments and you're trying to figure what that all means, we're like, okay, let's do this after Christmas. Let's do this in January.
Yeah,
Then January, a volcano erupted in the Philippines. Then COVID happened and the world froze, right? So we didn't freeze. Our business didn't freeze. It accelerated. But that's where, like, okay, right now we cannot do B Corp. So
yeah,
we basically put it on pause for COVID and for everything that happened. And then when we came out of that, when the world has completely changed and we had an immense time of growth at EMAPTA, we were like, okay, 2022, we were like, okay, now let's think about this again. We really should be doing this, mainly because, as I mentioned, our founder and owner, the purpose of why he built the business, for him has always been very strong. He's always been really dedicated to making sure he makes an impact in the communities that we are in, and he's seen the value we bring to the communities and the businesses, and he knows like doing good has been part of what he's based the business on and what we've been working on. And then his point was like, well, let's see what we can do to become a B Corp. So 2022, we picked it up again slowly. We actually had an almost 2 year long process. So it was very long for us. And mainly the reason was the corporate complexities. As we are a
Yeah.
business that is global, that is now operating in 10 countries, but in each country we're obviously incorporated and follow local laws, but our customers are in all other global countries. There is a global complexities review by the B Corp, and that set us back by, I think, 9 months. That took a long time. So
That'll do it.
that'll do it. I know you know what I'm talking about, and it's like, of course, that we didn't know
Yeah.
this in advance, and I wish I had known this in advance, and maybe we could have done it differently. But anyway, we got through that with the help of the B Lab support team, and then we were like, okay, great. So because for us it was all about, well, at the moment most of our business is in the Philippines, as in that's where we have 9,500 team members, out of our 10,000 plus globally, because that's where we had been for
Well,
15 years,
yeah.
versus the new locations like Colombia, North Macedonia, where I am usually, and Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Vietnam. Those are newer locations, smaller teams that we're just starting out there. So those are effectively like startups in in a large organization. And to bring all of that under the B Corp umbrella seemed a little bit complex at the beginning, but we figured it out.
Nice. Yeah, that the bigger organizations like yours, it is a real undertaking. So kudos to you guys for getting it done. Um, I've had a few bigger companies like yourselves that I've helped, and yeah, that's normally the I guess the advantage of having someone to help you like me is we would have done the review first and would have engaged B Lab and just gone, hey, these guys are complex. Can you give us some advice as to how they do this? Because yeah, it sometimes speeds up the process if you do that piece first and sort of have that conversation. But I guess yeah, that is really the value that people like me can bring is just knowing how to navigate some of that stuff. Which if you do it by yourself, you can get there. It's just that yeah, there are ways you can kind of speed it up. But yeah, I mean, kudos for you doing it, because yeah, when you've got multiple business units in multiple countries, and like you say, some are more established, some are more startup. They're in different phases. I'm guessing things like well, it'd be interesting to know. Like, did you end up harmonizing policies and procedures? Because obviously, I'm guessing the parental leave that the government provides in Colombia versus Macedonia versus the Philippines is probably not the same. Things like the holiday entitlement is probably not the same. So yeah, what did you do around stuff like that? Because that's often a big headache for bigger companies. Is let's say we've got people in the US, people in the UK, people in Australia, people in New Zealand, people in Japan, and maybe someone in China. In the US, you basically get no holiday entitlement. In New Zealand, you get 4 weeks. So what do we do? And then can we afford to give everyone in the US team 4 weeks holiday on top of their salaries, which we've not factored in prior to today? So yeah, what were your sort of processes around that?
Yeah, so I'll respond to that in a minute. I just wanted to comment on what you said, like what somebody like you will bring to the table for businesses. Isn't that very much related to what we said earlier about AI and the human role in even working with AI in the future? Because one of the in the process of that complex structure review was that all we needed is for somebody to understand what we do. We're in outsourcing, but outsourcing means so much to many
Mhm.
people, and they don't know.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, if we can just explain to somebody what we do, how our business works, and they actually listen, th- that complex structural review would be done with in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks, because it's not that complex actually. So it
Yeah.
was all about having a person to listen to what we're doing, and we obviously put it in writing and so on, but we really needed an advocate for us to just explain how it works. the data was all there. AI could have given them the answer in the chatbot or whatever, how that would work in the future. But it was still about a human hearing another human. That was what it was all about. So yes, certainly, Tim, we could have used your help there. But yeah, we got it done. And to your second question on the policies and whether they're harmonized across, they're actually so there are corporate governance policies. So especially the governance section of the impact assessment that is generally applies across all our organizations. So that's very much harmonized already. And then what is very much localized is the local employment labor law and the local benefits administration. Since employment and employee engagement and employee welfare is a huge part, if not arguably not it is the biggest part of our business. So that is very much localized. And so again, for me, I didn't find that complicated at all, because for me it was logical that so all we have to prove to B Corp is to say in Colombia we're following the Colombia laws and we're paying more than the minimum wage, and we're doing all of that. And the same in the Philippines. Now in the Philippines they're entitled to a 13-month pay. In Macedonia they're not, but in Macedonia they're entitled to another K-15 type of holiday leave. So it's the same thing. It's as long as we as a company can prove that we are compliant to the local labor laws, and we have plenty of proof of that. So in the impact assessment, sorry, in the verification stage, it was all about just like, okay, they want to see proof of this and proof of that. And yes, I can write that proof from Colombia, and in Colombia it will look like this. In the Philippines it will look like that, because the law is different. And once we show the reference to the respective law and the respective data on our end, the verification officer just is able to say, oh yes, okay, they got it, and then ticking the box. So that part was actually not complex.
Nice. Was there any requirement that you did kind of struggle with, that maybe you now you understand why you had to comply with, or anything like along those lines?
Not really. I have to say one of the basic things was, the questionnaire of the industries. What was it called?
Where
you
controversial.
Thank you. The controversial industries thing. That was something where we were like, okay, because we work with 900 businesses all across different industries, and and for example, a couple of them, I think we have 2 companies that are in mining. And they contribute to such a small amount of our total business that they were not really relevant. But of course, transparency is one of our key values, and it is what you do in B Corp. So I had to disclose them, right? And so then we're like, oh my God, you work with somebody in mining. Oh, red flag. And we're like, no, actually, we can see exactly what we're doing for them, which is business support roles. And they actually also have, in fact, our team member were working for their renewable energy part of the business. So, it's all about what you can show. So that was just something where we were like, at first it seemed like this is going to be a problem because you have a client in mining.
It's a deal breaker.
It's the deal, but you cannot. And I'm like, yeah, but look into the details, like what we're doing. We work for the renewable energy department of this company. And then it was all good. But then I was just like, wow, that's so funny how that one word could immediately put everything to a halt. And then again, it needed somebody to look into the next step. So that was not a problem. It was just something that we encountered that I was like, I didn't expect that to be an issue. And it then didn't become an issue, but it almost did. So
yeah, they're definitely. And again, with the new framework, there being it's like it never really made sense why the disclosure questions were at the end of the assessment, because theoretically you could get through the entire process, and then on the last question that you've answered, they go, sorry, you can't be a B Corp. So under the new assessment framework, even if you're starting on the current assessment, not the updated standards, you now go through that disclosure process before they let you go into the assessment, which is a really smart move, because I've had a couple of times when people are like, oh, did we not tell you that, one of our biggest clients sells guns? No, you didn't tell me that. So that might have been useful to know. Yeah.
Then the thing is, I do feel it's good to know, but I do feel like that the questionnaire was disclosed to us early on. Like, I know we didn't have to fill it or we didn't have to submit it, but I
Yeah.
was aware of it. I had gone through it like at the beginning. And when
Right.
I had like clicked through it, I was like, yep, got that covered. Nope, we've client. So I was like, yep, we're good. Like none of these are our clients, or if anything, it's again very minor and it's less. So I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, we're good. But then when we had to actually submit it and provide this supportive data later on, so it's good to know that that's now upfront, because then yeah,
Yeah.
it would save someone of the hassle.
Massively. Yeah. Um, I mean, it kind of sounds like, and I think most, I mean, almost all the companies that I interview on the podcast, and I'd say 99.9% of my client base, it's like you already had the mindset of being a B Corp. But what was there anything around your mindset or approach to business that you felt like that you've changed since becoming a B Corp, or do you feel like B Corp is just a continuation of what you were doing previously?
It's actually both. On the one way, we felt like we should be a B Corp because what we're already doing is good, and sorry, that's a very simplified way, but is good, and we should just have a certification for that, if that in a very
Mm,
simplified way. But at the same time, what the B Corp, and again, it's been just 6 months now that we have been certified. What it has changed for us is that I can now see a sense of pride within our team to be comfortable to say so more openly. We tended
mm,
to be more of a more reserved type of company. Like we wouldn't boast about ourselves, because for us it's all about enabling the success of our clients. And in fact, our team members, they work through us but for the clients. So we usually tend to keep ourselves more on the back end, because we're just here to enable. So because of that, we didn't really have a culture where we were like, oh, we're so amazing and we do this and we did that. And
mm,
not that we now do that, but at least I can now see people are more proudly saying, yes, we are doing really good work, we affect our communities, we make an impact, we are purpose
nice.
driven. And that's what B Corp has given us. And I take a lot of pride in that development, because we already could have done that before, but maybe we just didn't feel we had the right, yeah, maybe the right seal of approval to do so.
Yep.
And now that empowers us, and the reaction then from team members and clients is equally that they also feel proud of working with a company that has that seal, and that cares about all the matters in ESG.
Nice. Yeah, I often refer to it as like a lightning rod or a galvanizing tool, that you've got all these things that you are doing in the business, and maybe not everyone knows about all the things that you're doing, and maybe not all your clients know about all the good things that you're doing, but you kind of plant the B Corp stick in the middle of it all, and it kind of all comes towards it and
Mhm.
coalesces around it, and that's the thing that you can kind of, because I think yeah, the really purpose-driven businesses. It's. I mean, when I first connected with the idea of purpose for an individual or organizational purpose, it feels like it's a very ethereal thing. It's like, well, what is it? How do you put? It's kind of like how do you nail mist to the wall? It's like it's really hard to sort of express what it is. And I think it's the same with businesses that are trying to say, look, we kind of do stuff like we do this community stuff, and we're raising up people in their local communities, and da, da, da. It's like the B Corp is just a really quick way of going, look, we are good. We're doing some really good stuff. And then once you've got the B Corp, you've then got the framework to go. And what that means is we look after our people. It means that those people are active in their communities. It just gives you that heuristic or that framework to be able to communicate the good that you're doing. And that's why I've always been a fan of B Corp. It's like, just yeah, have a mechanism to be able to unpack all the good that you're doing and be better at communicating it. And then it's a globally recognized framework that more and more people are recognizing. So it's like win-win-win.
And
So
then
yeah, yeah,
it's people that want to hear about it. So it's, if I just came into a conversation and I said, oh, we're so amazing, we take care of people and we are it's one thing. But if I just say, oh, we're B Corp certified, and then people are like, oh, I know that that means something, I
mm,
know that that means you're doing good, then the interest comes from them. What do you guys
yeah,
do? And then it's a different kind of conversation, and that's what I've been really enjoying. And we're currently working on our first ESG report. And we had ideas about it, and but we hadn't really gone through with it, like to actually really put the document out there that really
yeah.
shows all the things we're doing. So we're working on that now. And yeah, very looking forward to have that done.
Nice. Um, And how's it been received globally? Because like obviously you're a global organization. Is there one particular area that has been most receptive, or and are there any areas that they were like, be what? Or like, what do you want about?
Again, it's only been 6 months, and obviously, I'm personally not in every conversation. But from
Sure.
just the ones that I've been at, because I speak to a lot of European and UK businesses, for them, it's really you can see they know B Corp,
Yeah.
and it immediately be like, oh, nice, and it's almost like a, ooh, yay! So there's one less thing I have to worry about, right? It's like because they're already
Yeah.
concerned about data security, and they're concerned about the remote work, and
Yeah.
so there's so many risks, initially perceived risks of working with an offshore provider, which all of which we will help ease out, and we will jump through with them. But when I say, oh, we're a B Corp, it's like, whew, it takes the weight off. So the Europeans,
Mm,
including the UK clients, it's like, ooh, nice. Australia, New Zealand, it's like they're already much more advanced, or you are already much more advanced in understanding and even acknowledging and using outsourcing as part of day-to-day business. So a lot of those risks that the Europeans still perceive, the Australians and the New Zealanders have already embraced. They are already aware of it. So it's more like a nice, good job, you guys. So it's more of a seal of approval and happy, but it's probably not really going to sway their decision-making factor so much. But it just tells them, okay, this is a solid business, and that's good. On the Americans, it's probably not so much as a top of mind concept yet that they are really thinking about. So we mention it, and some of them know, some of them don't know, but they're probably not yet there. They're like, oh, great, I'm so glad you have that. So we can see that on the American business side, that's probably not a key priority yet. But we
yeah.
know that it will become, and we also know that those serious large enterprise companies in the US also have global stakeholders, especially if they're publicly listed. So it certainly helps in all the right ways, but it's probably not as much of a priority as for Europe and APAC.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely feels like I mean, the US is just so big. It definitely feels that it's kind of patchy in terms of awareness of B Corp. Rather, yeah, it's such a like I say, such a big, diverse country with the different states, and I think like Vermont has got the most number of B Corps per capita of anywhere in the US. So maybe Vermont's where you need to be
Okay,
targeting
that's a
because you
good one.
probably have a more I mean, like Vermont, California, those are kind of like probably the two, and bits of New York. But if you're kind of going, I mean, I went on rugby tour in Wichita, Kansas. Like, I'm guessing probably less likely to be B Corp aligned, based on my
That's right.
experiences of playing rugby there, compared to like California or San Diego or San Francisco.
But it's
Um,
not for US.
that's
Sorry, I don't think it's just the geography. I also think it's really the size of the business.
yeah, yeah,
I really
yeah,
think small to medium businesses, much more local, as you said, probably more influenced on that versus some of the enterprise companies. And it's also about which customers they serve and who they deal with.
yeah,
And so we
yeah,
work with a lot of
massively.
international businesses, and so then it is also a forced upon them for that to become for ESG to become a key consideration, because it is becoming reporting requirements in other countries. And so I think
Nice.
in the US we're seeing it more by business size, while for
Yeah.
the rest of the country, the globe, it's just depending on, I think, their overall adoption rate of ESG standards within local legislation and just business culture.
Mm, nice. So you mentioned that the first time you did the B Corp, you guys didn't get through. Were you tempted just to go, okay, this is too hard, we're just going to drop it? Or I mean, clearly not, because but I mean, was there any conversation at the time around, nah, just take it off the off the to do list?
No, we did get through on the first time. It's
Oh, sorry,
when so the first time we
but you
we
said the
put
process
our
stalled.
yeah, we put it on hold from our side because we didn't
Right,
have the
right,
capacity at the time to even go
right,
through
right.
filling out that impact assessment because of the COVID.
Got it,
So, but
got it.
once we had, so when we, that's as our internal first attempt, which I am sure many businesses out there have the same thing, right? So they're like, would love to become a B Corp, start to poking around, looking, getting a login, getting into the impact assessment,
Yep.
skimming through those questions, be like, yeah, it's something like we could do, but no, it's a lot of questions. I need this from that person, I need that. And then they kind of put it on hold. I'm embarrassed to say this now, but that's what happened with us back then. And
Oh,
again, we had
that
COVID as the excuse, because it
yeah,
actually
yeah.
really is.
it's,
We were
it's
like,
pretty
we're
it's a pretty
we're
good
busy
excuse.
with moving 2,500 people from in office to work from home within 5 days, and then the repercussions of that. So we were like,
Yeah.
okay, let's put that on hold. But once we did pick it up again, we did actually get in on the first time.
Yeah.
We were able to have the score, but it just took longer because of that complex
Yeah.
review.
That's cool. Sorry, I
No, no, you're
misheard you on
good.
that
You're
one.
good. I might have
Um,
not explained it well.
yeah, you're the longest I've heard is a decade from
Oh,
starting to finishing it. Um, dare I say, I might know a guy who can help you if you're sitting there clicking and opening and closing and not progressing. I might know someone who can help you. Hint, hint. So yeah, if you're stuck on your B Corp and you want to some help simplifying and fast tracking that journey, drop me a note. Um, yeah, it's. I mean, it's the thing. You're not an expert in B Corp. You've got a business to run. It just gets pushed down the to do list. So half of my job is just locking people in a room and making them do it. And then the other half of it is then providing some advice around, no, you've answered that one wrong. This is what they're actually asking you, and no, actually that goes over here, and yeah, that's the yeah. But
because it
a
is
large
possible.
part of what I do is just locking them in the room.
I think exactly right. And I mean, I was speaking to one of our somebody from the UK, and they mentioned, "Oh, we're in the B Corp process." And I was like, "That's amazing. How far along are you? And when do you think you'll be certified?" It's like, "Oh, I think I'll be done in 3 months." And I'm like, 3 months. 3 months. I'm like, how? And well, because they found Tim Jones, but in the UK, that is just like, because it's all about, as you said, locking them in a room. And he's like, no,
Yeah,
and this was the business owner, and he's like, no, my priority is to just get them all the information that they need, because we
yeah,
as a business, they are in the environmental sustainability industry, so they've got it, like they know they do
yeah.
right, they know they do good. It's just a matter of getting it all documented there, and they put somebody in there to help them with that. And I was like, wow, that's so smart. Like, I wish I had done that. So yeah, Tim, I wish I had known about you yeah, about
That's all good.
3 years ago, but we're here now.
Hey, we're here now. We're here now. That's all that matters. Um, so I guess the dust has kind of just settled on your B Corp. You've got an understanding that obviously the standards are going to be different next time that you go through. But what was there one particular area that was maybe a light was shone on as you went through the process, and you're kind of like, actually that's where we want to be better over the next 3 years? Yes, is that like, what's the area of focus for you to be a better B Corp over the next few years?
So yeah, we're kind of doing like a Tiger Woods thing. We're still going to improve our biggest strength. So our biggest strength,
Nice.
and where we are, where we've got the most points, is obviously the employment welfare,
Yeah.
and health and safety, and then salaries and all of that. And yet that is still the area that we want to most improve on. One of the aspects that we needed to do, or we are in the progress of doing a better job, is actually documenting a lot of those engagement activities, as well as the CSR activities. We have always done that. It's been part of our culture ever since, to even do community outreach and so on. But we've
Yeah.
not had a very structured CSR strategy and like a policy in that regard. So that's one of the areas we're really focusing on. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's the same thing. We're doing so much. Like, we're really happy that more than half of our team members are actually, it's actually every month we're usually almost at a 50-50 between male and female employees. It's usually 51-49, but then it goes back up. It's
Mm.
usually always right there. So we've been doing so much in that regard already, but it's not been documented. And so we're looking to doing a formal DE&I questionnaire to also gather more data points from our team members in that regard, because we know we've been doing well there, but we've not formally structured it. So that's part of the deal there. Data security for us has always been a foothold of our service delivery. So we're already, you know, we've achieved the ISO certification and SOC 2 and so on. But that's always an ongoing, because that never ends. You're never done, right? In terms of data privacy and so on. So that's our
Yeah.
IT team is working on that. And then also in terms of the governance documentation, we have a risk, a legal and the risk department, and the risk team is really actively working on, again, more documentation of the risk assessment, the BCP planning and so on, where we probably have a very good baseline, but we really feel we want to level up to the next one, to the next level, for in line with our enterprise status as a company. So that's our focus there.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, because quite often people, like I kind of equate it to, you got under the current system, you got 5 kind of spinning plates, and it's like, okay, which plate, you know, do we need to let's just keep this one spinning because we did okay on that one, you know, but this is the one we need. I think you're one of the first people who said, actually, no, we, rather than kind of not fixing, but, you know, aiming to improve an area we weren't doing so well, it's like, actually, let's go even further on the one that we did really well on. That's a really interesting take, which I think it makes a lot of sense. I remember I spent a little bit of time in Her Majesty's Armed Forces in the United Kingdom, and that's the one thing they always said: you never reinforce defeat. So, like, if you've got troops who are basically, you know, not doing so well, you tend to not reinforce them. You reinforce where you're doing well, because then you're more likely to get a victory. And that's just like an interesting twist on it, because quite often people look at impact improvement around, let's raise the areas that we haven't done so well and maintain where we have done well. But yeah, I like that. That's an interesting take.
I mean, obviously, we still have to improve those where we didn't do so well. But for me, that's a given. But yeah, exactly. That's exactly the thinking. Like, and again, because that is the heart of our business, the people is what drives us, is what we do, is what we still feel like we can't just like say, oh, we're pretty good there, we got all those points and nice, let's just focus on the others. I feel like that would defeat our the whole point for us. Like, we want to grow as an organization, and we want to continue to be, you know, doing right, and so that's why our focus is there.
Super cool. And anything else new and exciting coming out at EMAPTA that you can divulge, or is it all top secret?
No, I always say, I mean, what we do is not rocket science. I sometimes say that to the team members, you know, because we work globally and we have almost like we do have a 24-hour coverage for all our clients. Sometimes it feels like the work never stops. And it's easy, especially for junior team members, to get under the pressure of responding to an email at 2 a.m. and, you know, things like that. And I always say, yes, we need to be there for our customers. We need to be there for our team members. But we're also, it's not rocket science. We're not saving lives. Let's also put it into perspective. So that's that. But it's actually a perfect segue to what is exciting at EMAPTA. I mean, we are, I mentioned earlier, you know, some of the global countries that we operate in. We've just opened up in Malaysia and Vietnam earlier this year. So that's really exciting for us. And we're planning to expand our teams there. And so just we always joke internally, we call it world domination. It's really just really about expanding the network of our countries globally. And for us, that also means a growth in our teams. And with every growth of the teams comes an expansion in offices. In fact, just yesterday, the day before yesterday, we opened our new office in North Macedonia, because we had outgrown our previous office, which was, but that's the best part of the job, when you see, okay, we need to grow bigger because we have done so well and we're creating more jobs, and we now need bigger offices. So that's what's exciting at EMAPTA for us right now.
Nice. That's super cool. Yeah, no, just if everyone is as positive and engaging as you, I'm sure that you've got some amazing humans joining these organizations in all these places around the world. Yeah, I mean, look, I just think you're doing some really cool stuff with some really cool humans. I mean, I would say, I think for me as a small business, the one thing I wish I'd done way earlier in my business is got someone to help me in the business. I think that's just a massive thing that people, I think it's a common thing, even for sort of small to medium businesses. It's like, I'll just do it. the value of outsourcing, whether it is international or you get someone into your business locally, whatever it is, like from a small business owner, like it's the best thing I've ever done is actually just getting stuff off my plate so that you can focus on what you're good at. That's which if you're an impact driven business, that means you've got more time to think about the good that you can do rather than filling in a spreadsheet or doing the thing that you're actually really rubbish at doing, and B, you don't like doing. So massive fan of outsourcing. It's the only way that you can ultimately get ahead. And obviously, if you're looking for an outsourced partner, what better than a B Corp? So for people that might want to check out a bit more of your services, where's the best place for them to go to?
Yep, they can find us on our website, www.emapta.com. EMAPTA, it's not of an easy word. It's a made-up word, actually, and it's
I was about to ask you, what does it mean?
It is the abbreviation of our founder's family names. So of
Nice.
his parents and his siblings. So it was all
there you
about
go.
the connection to family. So there we go. So that's emapta.com, and maybe in the show notes, I don't know, you put it there, and if not, they can reach me. They can find us on LinkedIn anywhere. I'm sure we're easy to be found, and we'd love to have a conversation. And some, a lot of what I actually do as a senior leader is really speaking to prospects and educating them on what's possible and seeing where they are in their business journey. And it's really more of a consultation also initially, just to see, okay, like you said earlier, they need some help, but what kind of help they need. Sometimes a lot of founders that I speak with, they don't really know. They think, oh, I need an assistant, and say, well, tell me what you need help with. And then they tell me all the 20 things they need help with. And I'm like, okay, really sounds like you might not need an assistant. You might actually need somebody like a customer success manager who handles all of that. Or maybe you need a graphic designer depends on the business, right? Sometimes it is an executive assistant. That's very often a common role we start with, but very often it's not, because some founders just have, as you said, I'll just do it myself. So many founders, even of small to medium business, still do the invoicing and part completely themselves. And if they were just to take that off and give that to someone else, there's already so much of their day that they can focus on, making an impact in other parts of the business. So it doesn't always need to be, I just need an assistant. It can be much more function driven, depending on when. That's what we come into, and then we give them an idea of what that would cost when you hire that offshore, or what kind of skill set we can get. We can show sample profiles, and then they can take it forward. Sometimes they're not ready. Sometimes it's not the right time, and that's fine too. But at least they know their options. And I feel like as a business leader and owner, you need to know. You need to think about all those strategies that you could do, and then you need to decide whether it's the right time or not.
Yep, 100%. Hey, well, look, thank you so much for giving up your time all the way from Italy. We've not had anyone from Italy yet, I don't think.
Yay,
on the podcast,
prima.
So that's first.
I'm the first one. Should have a flag here.
Yeah. We'll do that for the next one.
Because you have a French flag behind you. I have to comment on that.
Well, I'm really culturally confused. I also have a really big Welsh flag in front of me. So I live in New Zealand. I was born in England. I'm half Welsh, but my birthday is le 14 juillet. So the fête nationale. So I'm very attuned to France, because they have a massive birthday party for me on my birthday, and I do love all things French. Yeah. Ultimately, I like Italy, but I just have this connection with France with my birthday. But I would more than
no need to apologize. It's okay.
So somewhere in the Dolomites, or somewhere in the Alps. My big passion is skiing. So maybe we need to come over and
please. We just finished our season last Saturday, went skiing again. That's when the ski lifts closed here. We still have a glacier right behind me where you could ski beautiful. All year. But yeah, that's right. And I visited Wales earlier this year for the first time and I was so impressed. So, wow, love that.
There we go. Well, we literally, it's been raining, like biblical scale rain here. My local ski field, Mount Hutt, has had over 1.2 meters of snow overnight.
Dream.
So we're about a month away from it opening. So everyone now is just praying that there's no hot weather.
Yeah, I forget
Yeah, we're all
the
opposite.
obviously opposite. So you get to now ski. I'm so envious. Like I really had to put my
Yeah.
skis away last weekend,
Oh,
and I was mourning. I was like, I
there's
don't want
nothing
spring.
worse. Yeah.
I want spring. My kids were
Actually,
like, no, not
I
another ski
normally
trip.
yes, yeah. Probably in the next couple of weeks, I'll get my skis out and I have them in the corner as a conversation starter on Zoom calls. So I actually need to get them back. I gave them to the shop at the end of last season. I haven't got them back yet, so I need to go and get them back.
Well, you didn't need
but
them.
maybe no. Well, not next time you're over. If you headed to Australia, maybe next time you're over, you need to book a trip and
Oh, that's
just come over
definitely
to
on my
ditch.
plans.
Cool.
Skiing in the southern hemisphere anyway is a big plan of mine. So yeah, maybe on my next trip to the Philippines, I have to just hop down there.
I think you should just get ready for very large amounts of disappointment when you realize how short the runs are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, compared to like a glacier run in the Alps. Yeah. Just ignore that part. Just come. It'll be fun. It'll be great. We'll have a great time.
You will reach après-ski earlier then.
Yes. That's the benefit. Yeah. Oh, dearie me. Well, on that note, look, if listening to our conversation today has inspired you to be better and you want to have a look at doing some B Corp stuff, I might know a guy. There will be some links and things around here. Come and find me, growgood.co. I'd love to have a conversation with you if you think B Corp could be something that you want to do and get all the benefits and all the excitement and all the joys that Inge and the team at EMAPTA have got out of it. But Inge, thank you so much. We will be in touch. We'll catch you soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Tim. It was great to chat with you. Have a good afternoon or good evening ahead.
Yes.
All right.
Stay on the line and I'll just say goodbye to you in the green room.
Will do.
There you Hey, it's Tim here, that B Corp bloke from Grow Good. If you want more content on purpose, B Corp, how to do more good in the world as an individual or a business, then you know the drill. Hit the like and subscribe. Check out some of our other videos. They're probably floating around here somewhere. You know how it works. Thank you so much. See you next time.